Did LA give up too much to get a guy who has been labeled soft, although he puts up 19 and 9, which only 11 other guys do?
Is that a trick question?
People's Kid, how we doing? It's your boy Kobe back at it again with another video, and as always, hope you guys are having a blessed day. In honor of all the major trades that have gone on in the NBA this past offseason, I thought it would make sense to take a look back at some of the more historic and league-altering deals in the history of the association. Now, this list I put together is not a list of the greatest or worst trades of all time, but simply the biggest and most shocking. In short, these are the deals that involve some of the greatest players to ever play the game, traded in the middle of their prime. Another major point to mention before getting started, this does not include any draft day trades for players that had yet to step a foot in the league. So no, Kobe's trade to the Lakers or Dirk's trade to the Mavs is not on here. Per usual, if you guys enjoyed the vid, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and with that said, let's jump right into the video. Honorable mention number 1, 2019 Oklahoma City Thunder trade Paul George to the Los Angeles Clippers. Considering the news of this deal dropped around 2 a.m. Eastern Time, this deal probably qualifies as the latest announcement of a trade of this magnitude. Due to the impending decision from Kawhi Leonard, NBA fans were waiting on pins and needles to hear where he would decide to play, and when we all saw the alert from Woj, we could not believe the second part of it included the fact that Paul George, a player who had just signed a contract extension the year before with the Thunder with virtually zero chatter about any trade rumors, was also on his way to the Clippers for a record set of draft picks. But because this deal is so early and there's still so much to figure out about it, for now, this deal makes the honorable mention as we will have to wait and see what happens over the next couple years. Honorable mention number 2, 1995, San Antonio Spurs trade Dennis Rodman to the Chicago Bulls. Although not an NBA superstar in the same vein as the other players on this list, Dennis Rodman has to be on the very short list of the greatest role players in league history, if not the best. After winning 2 titles with the Detroit Pistons, Rodman moved on to San Antonio in 1993 to help All-Star center David Robinson bring one home for the franchise. Despite having excellent chemistry with Robinson on the court in these 2 years, Rodman's antics led him to isolate himself from his teammates and coaches. With the Bulls looking to round back into form after Jordan's return from retirement, in the 1995 offseason, Chicago made a trade for the player that caused them so many problems in years prior. While the execution was up in the air, because he was 34 years old, the Bulls did not have to offer much and got away with trading Will Perdue and cash considerations for the rebounding king. As the Bulls would go on to win 3 titles with Rodman as their defensive anchor, this trade will forever be recognized as one of the greatest ROIs of all time. Number 10, 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder trade James Harden to the Houston Rockets for peanuts. Speaking of greatest ROIs of all time, the Houston Rockets fall right into that category for their landing of James Harden back in 2012. As a classic cautionary tale for future NBA GMs that are a bit stingy with their top talent, the Oklahoma City Thunder offered Harden a modest 4-year, $55.5 million contract extension in light of already committing top dollar to Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. At the time, of course, the perceived value of Harden from OKC's perspective wasn't anywhere close to what his status is today, but there was certainly an understanding that he had room to grow only being 23 years old. But because OKC placed more importance on keeping Ibaka long term and would not budge on giving Harden the extra $4.5 million a year to appease his contract demands, the Thunder made a bold and shocking decision to abruptly trade Harden to the Rockets in exchange for Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, 2 first-round picks, and a 2nd-round pick. Now, at the time, the deal wasn't outrageously bad simply because Kevin Martin was a respected and productive NBA player, Lamb was still quite young, and not a bust yet, and the 2 first-round picks could have been mid to high lottery if the Rockets had a few disappointing seasons. Instead, of course, although the Thunder used one of the picks to nab very productive Steven Adams, the deal serves as a black eye in the face of the explosive success of Harden's career following his time in OKC. Number 9, 2011 New Orleans Hornets trade Chris Paul to the Los Angeles Clippers. After a glorious run in New Orleans where CP3 proved he was one of the best point guards to ever play in the NBA, The Hornets had a sinking feeling Paul would leave in free agency and decided they would need to trade him before the time comes. In a move that shocked just about everyone, including Chris Paul himself, the Hornets and Lakers agreed to terms on December 8, 2011 on a trade that would have Chris Paul teaming up with Andrew Bynum and Kobe Bryant. Yet because the Hornets were owned by the NBA at the time and feared another super team would decrease the parity of the league, David Stern savagely vetoed the deal and Chris Paul would remain on the Hornets for the time being. 3 days later, taking advantage of a golden opportunity to strike when the iron is hot, the Los Angeles Clippers came to terms with the Hornets and shipped away Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, Al-Farouq Aminu, and an unprotected first-round pick in the 2012 NBA Draft. While I don't think many look back at this deal and think the Hornets didn't get enough, I do think it is interesting to play the what-if game, not about if Chris Paul ended up on the Lakers, but what if he had stayed on the Hornets? Remember guys, the very next season the number 1 pick of the 2012 NBA Draft was none other than Anthony Davis. Could you imagine what that would have looked like? Victory! Unfortunately, just like AD gives zero f***s about Zion coming to New Orleans, I have a feeling CP3 would not have cared either. Number 8. 1968, Philadelphia 76ers trade Wilt Chamberlain to the Los Angeles Lakers. Surprise, surprise. Here's a deal that actually went through in which the Lakers came up on top, trading for one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Wilt Chamberlain. If we go back in the NBA history books 50 years to learn more about the details, it turns out players demanding trades goes back a lot further than I think Steve Kerr and many NBA fans realize. Disgruntled with the fact that Sixers owner Irv Kosloff refused to honor the deal Chamberlain made with the late Ike Richman that stated 25% of the franchise would belong to Wilt after his playing days, Chamberlain requested a trade the next season after failing to defend the NBA title they won in 1967. Because he had lost a bit of his top-tier ability by age 32, the Sixers reluctantly obliged and sent him to the Lakers for Darrell Imhoff, Archie Clark, and Jerry Chambers, or better known as 3 players whose names I promise I'll never say again. As I'm sure you can guess, this deal was a major win for the Lakers, who could now boast of a lineup that included Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, all this talk about super teams being a new phenomenon, when that one probably has the most name power of all time. Anyways, despite only winning 1 title in LA, Chamberlain's incredible dominance well into his 30s cemented his place among the other Laker greats in league history. Number 7, 2008, Memphis Grizzlies saved Kobe Bryant's legacy in gifting Pau Gasol on a silver platter. Remember when Kobe Bryant went on a trade request rampage in the summer of 2007, but don't exactly remember as to why he did? Well, while at the peak of his basketball abilities, the Lakers between the years of 2004 and 2007 left a lot to be desired, primarily because Kobe struggled with the responsibilities of being the number 1 option with the pathetic supporting cast he was given to work with. In particular, Bryant and the Lakers truly lacked someone that could be considered the clear-cut second guy on the team, no offense to Lamar Odom. In February 2008, this all changed when Lakers general manager Mitch Kupchak made a call to the Memphis Grizzlies that secured big man Pau Gasol at a cost of Kwame Brown, Javaris Crittenton, Aaron McKie, and several draft picks, one that would lead to his brother Marc Gasol. Lucky for them, Gasol proved to be a perfect match made in heaven for Kobe, and almost immediately the formidable crew of D. Fish, Bryant, Odom, and Gasol was born. After losing to the Celtics in 2008, where the nickname Pau Gasoft became more mainstream, Pau and the Lakers went on to go back-to-back in 2009 and 2010, while also getting sweet revenge on Boston for the latter. Yet even if LA didn't win any titles as a result of this trade, something tells me Stephen A. Smith still would have had called it a win for some particular reason.
Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play the game of basketball.
Number 6. 2007, Minnesota Timberwolves trade Kevin Garnett to the Celtics to form the Big Three. With the Red Sox having won a World Series in 2004 and the New England Patriots already carrying 3 Super Bowls in the decade, the Celtics at this time pretty much played the role of the underachieving third brother in the Boston sports family. Having little success with Paul Pierce as their main guy, Danny Ainge had a choice on either getting him out of town or bringing in some reinforcements to help bring this team out of the gutter. Due to Kevin Garnett's own frustrations of not succeeding with his squad on the Minnesota Timberwolves, the opportunity arose in the 2007 NBA offseason for the Celtics to give up a haul that would help alter the course of their franchise in a positive manner. As Al Jefferson, 2 first-rounders, and a couple players not even worth mentioning by name was the price to pay for arguably one of the greatest players to never win a ring, Ainge didn't even blink and officially gave the Celtics their own big 3, as Ray Allen had also been brought in around a month earlier. And less than a year later, with just 1 season under their belt, the Celtics would be named NBA champions after defeating the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games. And no matter what people want to say about the equal responsibility between Pierce, Allen, and KG, former MVP Kevin Garnett was clearly the best and most important player on this team. Number 5. 1992, Philadelphia Sixers trade Charles Barkley to the Phoenix Suns. Whether you love him or hate him, there is no question Charles Barkley is one of the most entertaining players to ever play the game. But while the Philadelphia 76ers enjoyed his elite all-star production for several years, there came a point where they honestly just couldn't take all the baggage that came with Barkley's top-tier game. Looking for a trade partner, initially it was reported the Sixers had come to an agreement with none other than the Los Angeles Lakers, whose franchise was looking for a new direction after the announcement of Magic Johnson having HIV. Yet while the deal was technically in place for around 3 hours, the Sixers threw cold water on the trade and went back to the drawing board. Not too long after the sequence, it was announced Barkley had a new place to call home, and this squad of course happened to be the Phoenix Suns, who got away with only giving up Jeff Hornacek, Tim Perry, and Andrew Lang. And in the season immediately following the trade, Barkley was awarded League MVP after helping lead the Suns to an NBA best 62-20 record. If it wasn't for Michael Jordan, it's very hard to believe he wouldn't have won an NBA title, and the petty Shaq attacks just wouldn't exist.
3 finals MVP, Chuck. Because you Google me, Chuck. I know what you're talking about when it comes to championship.
Number 4, 2017, Cleveland Cavaliers impulsively trade Kyrie Irving to the Boston Celtics. Of course, this one is still fresh in a lot of people's minds, but the joke is both teams have already moved on from both Irving and Thomas. Nonetheless, feeling belittled and marginalized by the presence of LeBron James and his bigger-than-life status in Cleveland, Kyrie Irving requested a trade in the 2017 offseason to ultimately prove he could handle being the number 1 option for a franchise. Although Irving's leverage was not great considering he still had 2 full years left on his contract, the Cavs ultimately granted his wish and shortly shockingly traded him away for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Zizic, and a first-round pick. On paper, the deal looked fine thanks to the incredible season Thomas had a year before, but quite honestly, it didn't take long for Cavs personnel and fans like myself to realize that the Cavs were indeed robbed and perhaps misled about the severity of Isaiah Thomas's injuries before acquiring him. Less than 2 months after he returned from injury, the Cavs parted ways with Thomas for pennies on the dollar. Truth be told though, none of this mattered anyways past the 28 season for the Cavs after LeBron pulled a peace sign and moved to Los Angeles. I guess the only thing that stayed constant in Cleveland is what Joakim Noah said almost a decade ago.
I don't know about this place, man. I just stayed in my hotel room, man. Every time I look out my window, it's pretty depressing out here, man. It's bad. It's bad.
So you're not going out?
No.
Number 3, 1975, Milwaukee Bucks receive a bag of chips in exchange for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It should come as no surprise to see the final 3 on this list be, in my opinion, the top 5 or 6 greatest players to ever play the game. In Kareem's case, before he teamed up with Magic Johnson on the Lakers, many often forget he was the world's best player by a mile while he was in Milwaukee for the first 6 years of his career. Having won 3 league MVPs and an NBA title alongside Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson, it truly appeared Abdul-Jabbar had no reason to leave from a basketball perspective. Yet due to his cultural and religious beliefs having recently converted to the Muslim religion, he was faced with the reality that Milwaukee just wasn't fulfilling him like he needed it to. So when it came time to discuss a contract extension, Kareem let Bucks management know it was probably best not to extend him and he would ideally like to be traded to the Lakers or Knicks. As a result, perhaps in the first time in league history, the best player in the NBA was traded in the middle of his prime for, wait for it, Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Dave Myers, and Junior Bridgman. Similar to what South Park police chief said after hearing a 5-year-old was getting with a hot kindergarten teacher, all I have to say is,
nice.
Nice. Nice.
Number 2. Say it ain't so. Cleveland Cavaliers trade LeBron James to the Miami Heat. This might come as a surprise to some that remember the decision back in July 2010, but LeBron James' move to the Miami Heat was actually a trade, so don't come at me saying this is BS. As I'm sure most of you are familiar with this story by now, after 7 years of playing for his hometown and becoming the face of the league, King James went on recruiting blitz in the offseason to decide where he would continue his career, and didn't end up making a decision on where he was going to go until well into the free agency period. Although the Knicks, Mavs, and even Bulls pushed hard to bring LeBron to their team, as we would learn shortly, it all came down to the Heat versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not wanting to leave the Cavs if he could help it, LeBron tried his best to convince other All-Stars like Chris Bosh that Cleveland was the place they could team up to win championships long term. While we don't know if Bosh flat out laughed in his face on the pitch to choose Cleveland over a world city like Miami, we do know he opted to go down to South Beach to partner with Dwayne Wade instead. Realizing a once-in-a-lifetime situation was seemingly passing him by, LeBron informed the world of his decision of joining the Heat shortly after, inflicting pain and hurt feelings on the city of Cleveland. In truth, I remember being so shocked, not that LeBron left the Cavs, but he left to join a team that wasn't even his to begin with. Not wanting to lose out on everything, the Cavs performed a sign and trade that gave them 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. Not even close to full value, but enough to warrant its worthiness on this list at number 2. Number 1. The end of Kobe Shaq. Los Angeles Lakers trade Shaquille O'Neal to the Miami Heat. Was there ever any doubt? The deal that ended one of the greatest duos in league history sits comfortably at number 1, as there was simply no trade that could top the one of the Shaq-Kobe breakup. Although the internal conflict between the two was well documented over the years, their on-court chemistry and ability to perform on the biggest stage allowed them to coexist in a manner that probably wouldn't have lasted if it wasn't for their success. 3 titles in 3 years and 4 finals appearances in 5, the straw that really broke the camel's back was the tumultuous 2003-2004 season, which included the addition of Gary Payton and Karl Malone. In particular, the flat performance by O'Neal in the 2004 NBA Finals gave Laker management pause on whether they should stick with the brick wall or start to build around the red shiny Corvette that was Kobe Bryant. When it was announced Phil Jackson was not returning, the writing was pretty much on the wall that either Shaq or Kobe was leaving. And in the summer of July 2004, it happened. The Big Diesel was headed to the Miami Heat in exchange for Lamar Odom, Caron Butler, Ryan Grant, and a future first-round pick. And considering the fact that the Lakers and Heat both won championships within a 5-year time span, despite all the drama, I'm gonna say both came out A-OK. Anyways guys, that's the video, hope you enjoyed. Just want to make a video rehashing some of the major deals in league history and rank them to see in my own mind where I place them. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with the list? Disagree? Comment your thoughts below. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.